But you ought to know, I have this thing about betrayers. They piss me off. Sounds good to me. What's the day of the rope? I'm Liam, he's Rob, and this week on the Hey Guys podcast, we are looking back at 1990 cult classic Prayer of the Rollerboys, a movie that isn't particularly violent until it is, when that is largely silly 90s cinematic nonsense until it isn't. Sure, it's got rollerblading and fun haircuts, but then it also has random legs being blown off and crotch stabs. Yes, the Rollerboys all wear silly jackets and skate in unison like they're in a late 80s music video, but then they were also massively racist and sneakily into wide-scale eugenics. My apologies. Make no mistake, love it or hate it, the first movie we are covering in 2026 might well end up being the strangest of the lot. Now, Rob, we both grew up with this film. We both remember watching it existing. Turns out I can't remember anything, or I couldn't remember anything beyond the trench coats, the weird unison skating, and the fact that Corey Haim was in it, because nearly everything that happened in this movie came as a surprise to me, especially the racism.
So I remember quite a bit of this film, but I completely forgot, and it should be a Rob take. I completely forgot. Hi, Gary Lee. I'm going to get you, Gary Lee. What, Gary Lee? What are we doing today? Hey, Gary Lee. What's going on, Gary Lee? Who's Gary Lee?
He's like a footballer. You know, there are certain footballers where you just have to call them by both names. Yeah. It's like you can't just call them by their second name. I was like, why did they pick the name Gary Lee? And why does everyone feel the need to give him the full name rather than Lee or Gary or whatever? I guess the problem is Gary and Lee don't sound badass enough. And Gary Lee together, I'm not sure if it's much better.
I don't know if they were trying to go because the whole racism angle and anything. They were kind of trying to go like deep south, where rednecks. You've got Tammy Lynn, you've got Bobby Joe, you've got they just won't get. Look, I'm reaching.
Because Gary Lee, or played by Christopher Collette, who I'm still trying to decide how good he is in this film. I think he might secretly be the best thing in this movie because
his hair is the best thing in this movie.
Well, that's the thing. His hair's magnificent in a ridiculous way. He is immediately being asked to ice skate, no pun intended, ice skate uphill here because he's got the ridiculous hair. He's got the ludicrous outfit. He obviously looks like a bit of a teenager, but I think he was in his early 20s. And yet he still has to come off with this kind of polite menace. And I'm like, I think he just about pulls it off despite all the odds.
He is so unassuming, and it's like you wouldn't think he's gonna shoot you or I don't know, euthanize a whole bloody race or anything like that. But I mean, behind those eyes, it was so funny because the whole interconnected between Griffin and Gary Lee as well is the fact that they knew each other up until they were 8 years old. Like, well, it wasn't we've known each other since we were 8. You moved away at 8 years old. I've never seen you again. Like, what the fuck?
Well, this is clearly, in many respects, and unsurprising given the director, Rick King, the prototype for Point Break. So Rick King went on to write on the 91 version of Point Break and the 2015 version. And what this movie shares with, certainly, I haven't seen the 2015 one, I'm sure Rob has. Have you?
I have.
Of course, yeah. I don't feel the need to sit through that movie. No, I'm not going to.
I went to the fucking cinema.
Oh, of course you did. I mean, somebody had to. But what this has is that underlying homoeroticism. Like, there is no reason for Gary Lee to want to have Griff, we'll call him, in the Rollerboys other than latent homosexuality. Because at no point does Griff do anything to kind of encourage Gary Lee to trust him. Everything he does is suspicious as fuck. He clearly doesn't want to be there. He's like, even there's that moment at that bizarre party scene where it's like, what's the matter, Griff? Don't you like us? And he just stares at him, doesn't say anything. He clearly doesn't like you. And yet he wants to be in the Rollerboys. It's suspicious as fuck. And yet Griff just clearly has a crush on Corey Haim in this film. That's the only way to describe. Sorry, Griff. No, Griff is Corey Haim. Gary Lee has a crush on Griff. It's the only way to explain his actions.
Your quote said it perfectly. Your quote at the beginning, it's suspicious. It's like, I don't like traitors, or whatever he says. Like, I can't stand it. Oh yeah, no, I'm with you, Gary Lee. What's the day of the rope? Give me all of your plans right away. Like, just tell me everything.
It's so it's actually, I really enjoyed that scene. It's terrible writing, but you said, it's like, oh yeah, I hate traitors. Don't you double cross me? It's like, dude, That sounds awesome. So that day of the rope thing, it's like a fucking Simpsons episode. And
Yeah.
some of the writing in this film is appalling. Like, let's just say this up front. This film is fun. It's not good. It's not good.
No,
I
no,
won't say anything to the contrary.
it's fun to watch. It is fun to watch.
Yes.
It's fun. Like I love a dystopian future where apparently you still have pizza restaurants, Chinese restaurants,
Wow.
lawyers, bankers, everything, but it's still a dystopian future because everyone's on rollerblades. It's funny as fuck. Oh, you got a police force as well. I don't
Well, I
know.
was thinking like maybe, if they did, if this movie had done well enough, obviously it didn't do well enough, and they got to make the sequel that they're very heavily hinting at the end of this
Yeah.
movie where they go to Oregon. I wonder if this had just by chance turned into a massive hit and like they got like a budget 4 times as big, would the sequel have ended up being Mad Max Road Warriors to Mad Max? Because when you go back and watch the original Mad Max, you're like, well, there's just cops, there's restaurants, people go on holiday, and then 2 years later, by the insane Mad Max kind of timeline, all of a sudden it's this dystopian wasteland because he's got the budget. And in this, you can see that, the way they talk about it, then there are like so many kind of clumsy hints at the wide scale dystopia, surrounding the United States and the wider world. But it's not shown on screen because they clearly don't have the budget. Sure, it just looks like LA with like the closest thing to this in terms of a dystopia is Predator 2. It's just a little bit grimy. That's
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. Not even as sweaty as Predator 2.
Well,
It's
nothing's
yeah.
the only movie that's as sweaty as Predator 2 is the
The
original
ho-
Top Gun.
the
That's
homeless
it.
camps are weird as well. Like the homeless camps, they're treating them like jail. Like if you're
Yeah.
in a homeless camp, they have armed guards. Don't go near
Mhm.
the fence. That's insane. Like, and none of that is explained. The thing that really got
If
me,
you don't know what the answer is, it's, and I'm putting bunny quotes here, dystopia. That's the
yeah,
answer to everything.
and it all happened because of the big crash.
Of
Again, bunny
course, of
quotes.
course.
Yeah, I gotta change. I gotta take a left turn here, and I just
Mhm.
the acting advice. I'm guessing the director. What did you say his name was? Devin Clark.
Devin Clark, don't know where I got that from.
Devin
Rick King.
Rick King. Okay.
Wait, who's Devin Clark?
Devin Clark is the person who played Milty, which is where
Oh,
I'm
there we
going.
go. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
we'll get to Milty soon.
No, we're getting to him now. The
Oh, fair enough.
advice I'm guessing that Rick King gave Devin Clark was pretend you're a male golden girl
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I like he is acting. Not I usually say motherfucker's 45 years of age. That's usually what I
Mhm.
say. Motherfucker is in his 50s. Like
Yeah.
the things he is talking and where he's going on about babes and he's acting. He's like, hey, Bobby, hey, like he's was it a cocaine guy? I can't even remember his name now from Die Hard. You know, Hans,
Oh, yeah.
Bobby, baby. You know, I'm
Yeah,
your
yeah,
white
yeah.
knight. Like, this kid is fucking 13 years of age, apparently. Why is he acting like
I
that?
mean, again, we talked, I used the clumsy analogy earlier about ice skating uphill, but
Yeah.
the dialogue doesn't help him at
No, no,
all.
no, no.
But also, I'm gonna go. He's not a great actor. He's such an annoying character in this film,
Yeah.
and like so many things in this film, at some point in the movie, you suddenly get nudged towards this idea that he is of import to the narrative. It's like, for me, the whole Griff being undercover is completely underdeveloped and undersold. It's
Yep.
just like every soft time, I'm like, why is he in the Rollerboys? Then you have that relationship with Speedbagger, and we'll get to his name in a bit. That is
It's
completely underdeveloped. And then, about halfway through, you get this idea that, well, everything he's doing is because he doesn't want Milty to go on drugs and go down a certain route. But then when he comes back and like Milty is clearly high as shit on mist, he's so low key about it. He's so fucking low key.
he
Like
doesn't do anything. Just hugs him.
just like,
Oh, you'll be
oh,
fine. You'll be
that's
fine.
that's a bit of a bummer. But then even Milty himself, like when they have that bizarre, when it takes a hard right at the end of this film and gets super racist, like you get a hint of it at the start. It's easy to forget about 30 minutes in that this movie opens with a right-wing monologue by the White Army. And when
Yeah.
I was watching, I was just like, this all sounds very populist and racist, and they're called the White Army. That's a bit on the nose.
And it's all about the dragon and everything.
I had totally forgotten that they were all racist as fuck. Like
I mean,
I
the
totally
coach,
forgot that they were white supremacists.
the coach should have told you. The fact that there was no color in their ranks should have also led you
Yeah, but it was
to
also
believe that.
1990. There were a lot of films where there were just no black people. There was a lot of, if you go back and watch
But
80s, 90s movies from a race
dude,
perspective, a lot of movie making is very tone deaf. And I kind of assumed
no,
that's
no,
what
no.
the case was here.
The B13ers were all a
Mhm.
different race, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they had race in there, just not in the Rollerboys. And speaking, because you mentioned the Rollerboys, I have to mention the grossest thing in this film is
Hmm.
Mark Pellegrino as Bango.
Hmm.
Right, get them while they're young, Grifter. Get them while they're young.
Well,
I
you
just
say
didn't
that's the
like that.
grossest thing in this movie. There are a few things that are quite gross. I found every sexual interaction between Patricia Arquette and Corey Haim
Yes, yes.
visibly and audibly unpleasant. They
That
have
dude
the
can.
oddest on-screen chemistry, sexual relationship, whatever you want to call it, I have ever seen. I found the whole thing just strange and unpleasant.
I don't think Corey Haim can kiss, let alone screen kiss. Like
Well, I
he,
wondered, they mention it in the film. She even says to him at some point, it's like, oh, you've never kissed a girl, have you? I was wondering if like the director's like, dude looks like he's never fucking kissed a chick
yeah.
before. We're gonna have to mention it because he looks absolutely
How
appalling.
you're undercover as well, right? And you need to vet Griffin to see if he is a
Mm-hmm.
roller boy, if he's going to sell you mist, or if he's
Mm-hmm.
someone you can use to go undercover. But how far do you go? He's easily taken off your panties,
Mm-hmm.
and he's saying, right, y- y- let's go to town, and then I'll give you some mist. Like, does she go that far, or
Well, she's
like is she
it's
willing to
definitely
go that far?
implied that she's had sex with a lot of the roller boys to get in
Yeah,
as an undercover cop. So yeah, she's being down to pound, so to speak. And in fairness to Patricia Arquette, like it is tough because he clearly can't kiss, and they don't have much in the way of sexual chemistry. But it also speaks to her kind of innate beauty that they can dress her like a complete dickhead in this movie and she's somehow still hot. Like at one
yeah.
point she's wearing a sailor hat for no reason. The next thing she's dressed as a fucking cowgirl. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, complete with pink revolver. Like I know
Yeah,
it was
she
a toy
she
gun,
is
but
nearly always dressed like a belle in this film, but she's so hot in 1990 that she somehow pulls it off. It's like when she comes to the door. I know it's 1990, but the most 80s scene in this film is when Corey Haim goes to her apartment and she's wearing a fucking kimono. I was like,
yeah,
oh, dude, talk about over time. And I'm not sure if I've ever been more convinced by the way the scene was shot that sex was about to go down. It's like, well, they're clearly about to have sex. It doesn't happen because they have that weird back and forth of taking each other to the line and then like turning on it. It's all very odd. But even though they don't have sex, what we do get to watch is Patricia Arquette sucking Corey Haim's fingers for what felt like in real
yeah,
time,
yeah.
felt like I was watching it for about
If she
25 minutes. It was
if she
unpleasant.
if she was really undercover as well, she'd be dead, right? Because
Yeah,
she is very liberal with that badge. Like she's just keeping that badge around, that massive fucking badge.
huge.
She shows him, and I love her as well. He goes, "That's not real." Yes, it is. Oh shit! Like, is that all you needed to believe she
That was
had a
it.
real badge?
She said yes
Yeah,
twice.
yeah,
Fuck. She must be the real deal. Yeah, she's a terrible undercover cop. I mean, in fairness, she does go the extra mile by having sex with most of the roller boys, but it is what it
yeah,
is. That whole side of the storyline to me is totally undersold. The story of the two weird cops who walk in from a completely different fucking movie. That's bizarre. And then at the end, just as you're trying to get your head around how dark everything's going, they roll up and you find out that they're dirty cops at the very
Oh,
end of the film out of nowhere.
you
And
knew they were dirty cops from the beginning, though. As soon as
or
you
was it
saw
because
them,
one of them was doing like arm curls in the back of the truck?
it was
like,
everything.
like fucking Ron Burgundy.
The whole like they didn't flash their badge at the beginning, and oh my god, their use of roller pud because it's a no, it's a PG film. I'm guessing roller pud.
Well,
What the fuck is that?
it can't be PG-13. That was the thing, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
that's the
nines and
weirdest thing
bollocks and
about
shit.
this
Yeah,
film
what was the
is that
rating?
I thought about this film as being like basically a kind
Oh,
of
it was a
like
15, dude. It was a
yeah,
15.
I
Yeah,
always kind of had this in my head that it was like a young adult movie. Basically, for people who are Corey Haim's age, kind of like Gleaming the Cube. And we'll
yeah,
get to that in a minute, the whole Gleaming the Cube thing. I thought it was that. And for a lot of the film, it is. But then all of a sudden, you get all this white supremacist stuff. I'm like, this is pretty heavy going. Bo Winkle, out of nowhere, drops an N bomb after they've almost beaten fucking Speedbagger to death
yeah.
because he's black. I'm like, this is getting dark. You have literally an Aaron is on the button for I'm sure somebody knows why this happened. For some reason, they decide, Aaron, we're having a roller massacre. That's the only thing I can describe as. They roll up in their I don't even know why they're doing tandem roller skating, but they roll up. They've all got Uzis. They just shoot everyone to death. One of the dudes gets his leg blown off.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's super violent. I'm like, well, that violence came out of nowhere. The next dude, like you said, gets stabbed in the dick like 14 times. I'm like, what is this fucking movie? It's so strange. It's like right up until like the very end of the film, I'm convinced nobody decided if this was going to be a PG, a PG-13, a 15, and then just like it's going to be a bit of everything. Basically, it's a difficult movie to pin down on a tonal level. Put it that way, or at least I had difficulty with it. But while I was mentioning the whole gleaming the cube thing, I do miss, even though it's a weird fit with this movie, the fact that back in the 80s and early 90s, if there was like a kind of popular culture level of interest for something, they would just turn it into a movie. It was like
Yeah.
BMXs were popular. We got BMX Bandits. Suddenly, like skateboarding's popular. We got Gleaming the Cube. Bizarrely, VR was really, everyone forgets this. VR became really popular in the mid 90s, early to
Yeah.
mid 90s.
And
And they
we
were
got
like, oh, well, we'll
Lawnmower
take
Man.
this Stephen King book, which isn't about VR, and we'll just put VR in it and call it Lawnmower Man. If you've read the book, you'll know just how insane it is that VR's in that movie and it's called
You're
Lawnmower Man.
missing
It's so strange.
you're missing the most important one when breakdancing was a thing, and we got breaking and breaking to electric boogaloo.
Were I mean, the thing is, one of the I want to cover those movies, and part of me just wants to cover the sequel just so I can say the name a lot. It's
Yeah.
outrageous, but that is exactly what they did, and this movie kind of half fits that mold in so much that if you stop and think about it for a second, there is no need for rollerblading to be in this movie at all. None. Like,
No.
why the fuck are they rollerblading? Why are they roller? I have like I was. It was only halfway through. I suddenly stopped. I was like, wait, why are they rollerblading? But they've obviously decided we need a rollerblading movie. They've obviously got a completely different script about a dystopian future with like populist racists, and they're like, can we get rollerblading into this? Well, if it gets the movie made, we'll fucking make it happen. It's strange. I mean, if you can explain to me why they're all rollerblading, I would love to hear it.
I think you've kind of done it anyway, haven't you? You've said like it was the trend at the time, but I don't know. It's really like I want to say to make them easier for them to escape the cops, but I mean apparently the cops are just underfunded anyway.
Well,
So
they don't seem to give a fuck about the skate, and it's not like they all kind of skate stuff. It's clearly some kind of visual thing they're going for with it. I don't know, they're trying to intimidate people. Like when they skate in, they don't just skate in. They like that introductory sequence in the it's in a car park, and you get your first real look at the Rollerboys. Obviously, we've seen
yeah,
Gary Lee and he does a speech, but we're seeing the Rollerboys in action. And it's the lamest introduction to supposed bad guys I've ever seen. So they all skate in a line. They're all waving their arms like they're in a
yeah,
skating
yeah, yeah.
competition in unison. And you're like, that is so how could this get any lamer? And at the very end, the leader, Gary Lee, does a little spin on the spot. Like, what the fuck was that? A
He was
little
loving it.
flourish at the end.
He was loving it. Do you know?
He
Do you
was
know what this film gave us though? Because this was released in 1990, wasn't
1990.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, this film gave us the Rollerblade 7 in 1991. All
Well,
right.
that's what we need. What exactly is the Rollerblade 7?
In a futuristic society, a sword wielding roller skater fights evil ninjas, punk roller skaters, and is sent on an important rescue mission. The person he has to fight, the Black Knight, played by Frank Stallone.
Well, I've never heard of that. Did they by any chance wear very long jackets, high trousers, and suspenders to give them that, extra edge like they have in this movie?
Oh, dude, there's he basically it's fantastic. It's like Samurai Cop. It's a dude in black with blue gloves, long blonde hair, surfer glasses, and rollerblades.
Fantastic. I mean, the
Oh,
90s, the thing is, you got to remember the very late 80s going into the early 90s, everything had to be extreme. And this was in like video games, popular culture, everything. Everything was to the max, everything was extreme. It
yeah,
was just that time. And if you look back, it's all very charming, especially for us who grew up in it. It's also utterly ludicrous. All of these movies are just absolute nonsense. This one stands out, though, as I said, because the other ones, even if you look at, say, something like The Wizard was made fundamentally to sell Super Mario Brothers 3. It was just a big
yeah,
reveal for
yeah,
Super
yeah,
Mario
yeah.
Brothers 3. And as I said, it was like, okay, Gleaming the Cube. It's like, yeah, there's a cop story, but it's really about skateboarding. This movie isn't about rollerblading at all. It is clearly a completely different movie, and rollerblading has just been bolted on clumsily. Like the opening sequence, you think, oh, it has that Gleam in the Cube style where you just see Corey Haim. It's the future and it's dystopian because everything's orange. It's either that or you're in Mexico. If you're in Mexico, it's orange. If you're in LA in the future, it's also orange. It's just one of those things.
No.
And he's like doing his skate moves, and he's clearly practicing it. He's not terrible at inline skating, but then the whole concept of inline skater culture is completely abandoned. They just happen to have skates on their feet at certain parts of the film. That is literally it. It's very, very odd.
So, look, cool. Like you said, when they're doing their arm movements and they're all in you, and they're basically doing the flying V.
Yeah. That's a great shot. That's exactly what they're doing.
What I loved is you've got the two guys who always carry the guns. Bango is one of them, and there's another guy on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have to do their arm in unison thing. So they've got the gun on one, and when the right arm goes up, right arm. Okay, can't do my left arm. I'm holding a gun. Back to the right arm. Can't do my left arm. Holding. It's so funny when they're doing it.
It's all I can think is that, and maybe I'm giving the movie too much credit, is kind of like the whole Nazi Sieg Heil, they throw the hand up, you do the Nazi salute.
No, I don't think
it's a more kind of, acrobatic version of that, but I think I'm probably giving the movie too much credit.
Their Sieg Heil is the
two hands up, the rope thing.
The two hands, the fist, and the day of the rope thing. No, that's their Sieg Heil. This,
the day of the rope, which just happens to be a plan about like kind of low scale eugenics. It's really strange because clearly there's only a few of them. But
when they say goodbye to each other, or hello, you see them do the
hands up thing. Yeah.
So that's their Sieg Heil. That thing is literally just how can we look cool wearing our white coats? And okay.
Are they white or beige? I guess they're more kind of like, I always think of them as kind of like warehouse jackets.
I kind of went with white because the whole thing, but he was wearing, if you want to go white, what Gary Lee was wearing in the prison scene at the end, that was white. So yeah,
that was very white. I love the idea that for like, for it to fit with the noise. It's like, I thought I'd go with white. I'm like looking at a picture. I'm like, well, it's not white, but sure, let's go with that anyway. But yes, at the end, it is worth mentioning that. And that last sequence of the film, he is wearing the whitest clothes I've ever seen in my life. They are so I don't know how you can have extra white clothes, but somehow he pulls it off.
I'm up for the jackets. I like the jackets look cool, but I kind of like the. I know. I'm trying to tiptoe around this without sounding like I belong in there.
Did you know Gucci used to do the suits for the Nazis? I mean, say what you will about them, they dressed fucking well, bro.
I couldn't tell whether or not I liked the insignia.
Oh, with
the cross, with the dragon, and
yeah, it plays a very large part in the intro. So in the opening sequence, it's like you see the dragon and it kind of jumps at the screen, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then it's kind of abandoned again. It's abandoned. You just see it on the jacket.
There's nothing on the graffiti. There's nothing.
No, there's not. Is there?
Yeah,
it's just on the jackets.
I couldn't really tell what it was. A dragon wrapped around the cross, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sure, it was. Yeah. And I still don't know whether I like that or whether I'm allowed to like it without sounding like a massive racist.
I think you're okay because if this is your choice of like racism is like Prayer of the Rollerboys, like most people don't even know what it is, so I think you'll be able to get away with it. It'd be a strange stance to take, but
I don't want to beat Speedbagger because of the color of his skin. I want to beat up Speedbagger because he's called Speedbagger.
I mean, yeah, and he talks almost exclusively in boxing metaphors, which is all very clumsy. I mean, the one thing I'll say about him is that he's probably the biggest star of this film. Like, this film is filled with a lot of like almost stars. Like Patricia Arquette's quite famous. Corey Haim was obviously famous for a while, but this was their kind of like chance to kind of like kick on and become, proper movie stars. Can you carry a movie? And it didn't really happen for any of them. You could say the same for Christopher Collette as Gary Lee, who had been, God, what was he in? I've got a list here somewhere. Jesus Christ. He was in Firstborn, Sleepaway Camp, Manhattan Project. These were all like relatively big hits in the 80s. And obviously this was that kind of, this literally a gateway to 90s cinema, and none of them really kicked on. Obviously Patricia Arquette is hung around and she's a pretty big star, but none of them became A-listers. The closest thing to it is actually...
Julius Harris?
Yeah, Julius Harris, who was in Live and Let Die, The Taking of Feeling 1, 2, 3, King Kong 76. He was in The Godfather of Harlem with Fred Williamson of Just Till Dawn fame.
I do apologize, and I hate to be a prick. I can't get away with that. The Taking of what?
The Taking of... Oh, Pelham 1, 2, 3, is it? Or Pelham?
Pelham.
My apologies.
Where do you burn these H's?
Is it spelled Pelham? Is it P-H-E-L-A-M?
P-E-P-E-L-H-A-M. Hell,
Why
how?
have I said? Oh, maybe I've just. It's a typo.
I have
It's a typo on my
okay.
part. No, no, you've got to
Sorry.
call me. Listen, I call you out. You've got to call me out. Like otherwise, I just sound like a fucking dickhead. So I apologize. So the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, King Kong 76, as I said, the Godfather of Harlem, and I just want to bring up Fred Williamson because I love him in From Dusk Till Dawn as Frost. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's the closest thing to like it's weird with Corey Haim because he was really famous from like 85 through 90 because of the whole Corey Haim, Corey Feldman thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But he wasn't like, they play a very small part in Lost Boys, of which this movie has quite a few similarities, actually. And then, what is it? The driving license movie, wherever the fuck it was?
License to Drive.
License
And
to
then
Drive.
Dream a Little Dream and Dream a Little Dream too. Uh,
Yeah. Were those big films?
no, 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 no. They weren't big.
I
But
just
then
think Corey Haim he's one of those people. He's more famous than he ever was successful. If
yeah,
that is
yeah,
fair to say.
yeah. So his fame and outside of all of this was more than the films he did. Because after this, he went and did a couple of. Because I remember he did. I think he played a guy named Lenny in
Hmm.
Not of Mice and Men. Oh, what was the film? Oh, Demolition High and Demolition University, where apparently this guy, no matter where he goes to school, gets taken
Hmm.
over by terrorists.
Ooh,
So he has
actually
to.
sounds kind of fun.
Yeah. What? Sorry, I need to go back because you mentioned about sorry, what was his name again? Julius
Who?
Harris.
Yeah, his
You mentioned
speedbagger. Yeah.
Julius Harris, and you said, and I love it when you do this. You said his big ones, you said Live and Let Die. You said Taking a Pelham, you Godfather of Harlem. Good ones people have listened to.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to let you get away once again without mentioning the films that I would have watched. So I have
Of
watched
course, of course. Well, we as is always the case. If we look at a list of IMDb films, I'm looking at five, and you're looking at the other five. It's nearly always the same.
Maniac Cop 3, The Badge of Silence.
Yeah, didn't see that one. Didn't see that
No.
one.
Shrunken Heads.
I am aware of Shrunken Heads too. In fairness, but I've not seen
He
it.
he is the voodoo guy that takes the dead teenagers and does a voodoo curse and makes their head shrink and then they begin to fly
Brilliant.
around. And
We can blame Live and Let Die for all this voodoo nonsense. Of course,
I love
just got a vibe.
shrunken heads. Like love is a general term. Like
Hmm.
like Prayer to Rollerboys. It's not a good film,
But it's fun.
but it's fun. Yes, it's fun. It is fun.
Well, we kind of specialize on that, with this podcast. How many films have we gone back and rewatched? And you're just like, well, objectively, watching this in 2024, 25, 26, whatever, you're just like, listen, this film isn't quote unquote good, but I still enjoy it. And
Yeah.
this film really does tiptoe on, like, it's definitely not good. Did I enjoy it? I mean, I enjoyed it in bits. I'm not gonna lie, there was a spell for like 20 minutes where I was just like, I'm kind of waiting for this to end now. But
Yeah.
I think there's a reason that despite watching this in the early 90s, I had retained nothing. Like
No.
other than the aesthetic. The aesthetic is strong. You remember the Rollerboys, you remember the look, you remember Corey. There's a lot of dodgy haircuts in this film. Corey Haim's hair is actually okay. It's a little bit inconsistent. It changes quite a lot, but he's got one of the better haircuts in this film. It's very much from a haircut perspective, and it's going back to what I was talking about a minute ago, that kind of gateway to the 90s, where half the haircuts feel like they're still stuck in the 80s, like Gary Lee's, for instance, very 80s, and then other ones like Corey Haim's or not Bojangles, what's his name? Winkle. His
Bullwinkle.
his hair it feels very 90s, for instance.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, the aesthetic stuck with me. The story, the acting, the writing obviously did not.
I wrote this down right. A world that feels like Blade Runner if the budget was £11.50.
I
It's
actually wrote down, when he's in the pizza van and
yeah,
he has like basically like futuristic sat nav.
that futuristic stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I literally wrote down, that looks like Blade Runner sat nav. Because if you go back and watch Blade Runner, it's a kind of like weird, like a very kind of hands-on, what's the opposite of digital? What's the word I'm
Analog.
looking for? Analog, thank you. A very
Yeah,
analog version of the future. It's like if you go in, like I went to, and I may mention this before, but you can go to Concord up in Scotland. They've got one parked
yeah.
up, like it's on the street. You can go to an airplane museum. You can go into a Concord, and aesthetic from outside, it looks like something from the future. Like you see the engines, you see like the shape of it. You're just like, it still looks like it's from the future, despite the fact that it was built in the 60s. And then you go inside and you go to the cockpit, and it's like fucking Blade Runner. It's so analog. There is like a bajillion buttons, and it suddenly still looks futuristic, but it looks Blade Runner futuristic or Alien futuristic. And this movie definitely has that kind of Blade Runner futuristic style.
Well, because they didn't know what they were trying to do as well. Because you had the
No,
Pinky van and it had the futuristic, like you said, analog
dude, I forgot
thing.
about Pinky. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
but you had the Pinky van And then
Yeah.
when that Pinky van got burnt up, and
Hmm.
Griffin was about to go off on his deliveries on a bike, which is funny.
Hmm.
Then the new van that they gave him in this dystopian future was practically a Honda Accord.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a silver minivan. Like you have this. This is your new
I
Pinky
guess
van.
because it comes from the Rollerboys that they've got a bit more money, perhaps. But yeah, it all feels like a bit of a stretch, and maybe they can get away with it because they're under the Rollerboys protection.
Oh,
But yeah,
Gary
I'm
Lee's
assuming
fucking
for
convertible though, which he has no point in drive. Like, there's no reason for him to drive that car every day
it's just sure.
to the
Well,
new
I
Mist
love his
house.
buddy's car behind him, which looked very cool. I'm not sure if it was a
Yeah,
Corvette or something, but yeah, his car again feels like it comes out of nowhere. But that's the biggest issue with this film is that nothing quite coalesces narratively, aesthetically. Part of that is budgetary reasons, but the story, that's just the narrative of the film. It's got all of these threads, and very few of them end up matching up. Like even the whole kind of, at the core of the film, it should have really been Griff's and Gary Lee's relationship, which, as I
yeah,
said, is definitely homoerotic. And you think about when he tries to get Gary to tries to get Griff to prove himself to become a roller boy, and they have that bit
yeah.
where they've got to go and steal like key cards or
Oh,
whatever.
from the docks and
Yeah, from the
stuff. Yeah,
docks.
yeah,
It very much feels like the race sequence from Lost Boys, for instance. And you
yeah.
think that film is fundamentally based around their relationship in the same way as I mentioned earlier about Point Break. This film, it's trying to do too many things. So you get these little hints of their relationship, and when they have a skate off like halfway through the film, and they're suddenly like, "Oh, I'm still the better skater than you," and they kind of skate and briefly have like a giggle together, but then it doesn't go anywhere. Like
But
the
again,
whole thing with like Point Break is like, yeah, he's an undercover cop, but you can see him being seduced with this different world. You can see him basically falling in love with Patrick Swayze. And Lost Boys has got, the whole point of like, yeah, they're vampires, but I'm being seduced by that world. I'm being seduced by handsome ass Kiefer Sutherland. This film is trying to have that, but it never quite gets there.
and you said about the thing where he goes, "Oh, I'm still the better skater than you." You were 8 years of age the last time you saw each other. You could
I know.
barely skate at 8 years of age. There's no way in hell you knew enough about each other to have this bloody relationship. It's
It's yeah, as I said, it's their relationship is underbaked. The undercover cop story is underbaked. The whole eugenics, like the eugenics thing, is based on like maybe if they explained the world a bit better and the idea that LA is very much self-contained and that the rest of the country is ostensibly fucked. And they give hints of that. It's like Harvard is being moved brick by brick to Japan. They're selling
yeah,
off states to other
that was
countries.
quite
Blah
good.
blah blah. But he's trying to like his whole plan, and they literally call it the final solution, it's very unsubtle, is coming from the back of this Winnebago. I'm not sure if it's a Winnebago or a fucking, a large taxi, whatever the hell it is, where they're doing the drugs. They've literally got two people working in there. It's the size of a large living room at best. And their plan is to basically make the entirety of LA infertile from there.
So no, so basically that's the prototype. That's a mobile one. So he did
Oh,
say this.
okay. Yeah.
So that's a
My apologies.
mobile one. And
Mhm.
if that kicks off here, by the end of the year, he's going to have them rolled out across the country.
And the whole idea is he's going to
The
make everybody.
reason
Yeah, I
why,
just
yeah,
thought it was all so small scale. I was just like,
the
how is he going
reason
to
why
make this
it's
work?
small scale and mobile is because it's new. Because their
Got
previous
you,
Mist
got you.
house, the two fake coppers or the two dirty coppers burnt it down and Bullwinkle was about to die in it. That was their original Mist house.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
So that's complete oversight on
Yeah.
my part,
So
but
so
yeah.
Gary Lee has just brought this in now in the
Hmm.
background whilst Griff is trying to become a roller
Got you,
boy.
got you.
Uh, I want to talk when we talk about the roller boys. I honestly think this is an accident and they didn't actually mean this. But I wrote down about the youth radicalization. And I think
Hmm.
they accidentally predicted how extremist groups probably recruit disenfranchised teens. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
give them a free meal, give them some comics, let them know how cool we are in our skates and our
100%. It's
yeah.
populism
But
101 for
I
sure.
think that's accidental. I don't think that when they wrote this, they were like, "Oh fucking hell, yeah, this is right." I just think they actually they fell into that.
I
If I'm
wouldn't be
honest with you.
surprised if fucking Trump watched this and he was just like, listen, say what you all about the roller boys. They had some good ideas. All they needed
Yeah,
was better leadership, better funding. And let's be clear, Gary Lee, we don't know what he went on to do in the future. Like, we didn't get the sequel. We got
yeah.
the hint of, obviously he's been arrested. We mentioned what he was wearing in prison. I have no idea what was going in there. So he had his lawyer with a desk and a computer in his cell.
Yeah.
He had graffitied his entire cell. I'm not sure if you want to do that, but sure. I'm just thinking about the fumes or whatever. I mean, yeah, really, Griff should have shot him there and then, like, if he is indeed that dangerous. But part of me, this is one of those films where it is a mess. It's not brilliant. Would I like to have, if you said, "Oh, dude, there was actually a kind of sequel which was made in 1993, set in Oregon with like a budget twice as big. Do you want to see it?" I absolutely want to see it. I
Yeah.
totally want to see it because I think there's a good movie in here. It's not quite on screen in this film, but there is a potential. There was a potentially really good sequel to be made out of this, I think.
Going on, before we move on as well, talking about Griffin, right?
Hmm.
I've written down a couple of reasons why Griffin is the best worst hero.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be interested to hear that
Okay.
because he is both fun and terrible.
So he's brave, but also constantly confused.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that might
Yeah.
just be Corey Haim's acting style. He does like he does that thing which was kind of cute when he was younger, where he just kind of hangs his bottom lip out, where he looks kind of gormless.
Yeah. He's loyal, but easily manipulated.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
great shout.
He's a good skater, but not that good.
Yeah, yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
that's a great point. Like you said,
Yeah.
he's clearly decided I want to do my own stunts. So he's what I would refer to as a competent skater.
Yeah.
Like I used to. Did you ever used to do rollerblading? Did you go through a
I
rollerblading phase?
rollerbladed, yeah, yeah. I
Like
was
we
better
went
on
through like a
quads, but
Yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah.
we did quads initially, but then rollerblades came in, and we moved to those, and we used to play like roller hockey and stuff. But quite often, I just enjoyed. We just like as a group, not like the roller boys. There was no, racism or anything like that. It was certainly white supremacists. One of the guys, I feel like the need to say it now, just in case. One of them was brown. But anyway, we just skate about, and I was a relatively competent skater, and I feel like if you'd filmed me, I wouldn't have looked that different to
No.
Corey Haim in this
Yeah.
film. He's absolutely okay in the same way I was okay. He's not great.
Minus the only time they put a stunt double in is when at the beginning, when he did the flip, when he
Well,
did the
no, there's
forward
two
roll.
times. There's the
Okay.
flip, and then at the end of this film, you get a really bizarre action sequence where the cops show up. They have a face-off with the roller boys. They all start shooting each other. It's oddly violent, but terribly directed. And then you have the chase sequence between Griffin and Gary Lee. And one of the most random movie explosions you'll ever see. Like he's
Yes,
just
yes,
shooting
yes.
him, and then just in the background, there's no kind of build-up or explanation as to what it is. There's just an explosion. And I think in the background you can see the gas cans, but it's not kind of highlighted clearly. So he's skating along, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, there is a massive explosion. You can see clearly it's a stuntman in front of the explosion. But yeah, that whole action sequence towards the end, very strange. Very strange. But I
My
can say that about most things in this movie.
my last point of why Griffin is the best worst hero. He's the
Mhm.
only person in the film who seems aware that rollerblading fascists are weird. Like everyone else is just onto them, and he's just like, they might be a little bit odd.
It might be a little bit
just a
odd.
little, yeah.
But then, like you said, he fails to read the room. I know he's supposed to be undercover and stuff, but then he goes back to Speedbagger, and I'm still not completely clear on what Speedbagger's relationship is with Milton and Griff, but whatever. He's basically playing the old-fashioned black archetype of
Yeah,
whimsical old man. It
yeah.
is very much a black archetype, sadly,
He
but
he is songs from the South.
a little bit.
Yeah,
He is a little
yeah.
bit. And when he goes back to see Speedbagger, and Speedbagger is clearly upset because I don't know, you've clearly just joined the Nazi youth. He's like, "Oh, don't be upset, Speedbagger." It's like, well, come on, dude. What the fuck do you expect? Look at you, Joe. Look at the coat you're wearing. It's like basically, you got a black best friend in 1942. You show up one day dressed like an SS agent. You're like, why are you so upset? I mean, come on, for heaven's sake. It's like, yeah, I think Speedbagger has every right. But, the good news is they don't accidentally beat him to death. Like when they do have that sequence, and it's clearly going to be Speedbagger, and they kind of build up like, oh, Griff, you've got to prove that you're one of the roller boys. You can't back down. So he's like really into beating up this random
I
person.
loved it as well because it was right before that scene. Is he enthusiastic, and he goes in, he's
Yeah,
clapping, he's really enthusiastic,
super
and
enthusiastic.
he drops a punch on him. I mean, absolutely. Like I said, the whole confused thing with Griff, because if that was
Mhm.
me, and we're all of a sudden just beating up a black man, but his hood is on, he's got a hood on. I'm thinking, well, that's Speedbagger.
It's clearly Speedbagger. It's clearly been set up here. This is ridiculous. But then what I hate then is after they reveal it's Speedbagger, Milton fucking rocks up and he's like, "Oh, this is all your fault, Griff. Like, look what's happened to Speedbag." Like, Milton didn't have a fucking boner for the Rollerboys from scene one. I'm like,
Thank
what the
you.
fuck,
No,
dude?
you are spot on. When because I read that as well. When Milton said this is your fault, I'm like, no, fuck you, dude. He
Fuck
literally told you
you.
stay away from the roller. I would have fucking kicked Milton to the curb, the little
That would
shit.
have been the final straw. I'm like, fuck off,
Yeah,
Milton. You absolute fucking with your stupid little ponytail and your love of mist.
yeah.
Such a contrarian little shit. Yeah, he's got to
Go
go at
smoke,
that point.
go smoke some more mist and not have kids, you little shit. Fuck
Oh
off.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We've talked about this on previous podcasts. Is like how quickly
child actors.
an annoying
Oh.
child actor can derail a film. Like there's a lot of things that are potentially derailing this film, but every time Milton is on screen, my toes become like, I goddamn, I hate this character so much. But anyway, anything else you want to cover before we move on to Rob's take?
No, I think I've covered all of my talking points, so
All right, cool, cool,
we
cool.
can go on to Rob take. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
this is Rob's take in which, oh sorry to butt in there, in which Rob picks out something innocuous that most folk wouldn't have noticed but inexplicably drove him crazy. Mine would just be, why is there rollerblading? But I'll let you take it from here, sir.
no, 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 you're right. So I have a was it? What do you want to say when you've got the real one? But you some mentions, honorable mentions. I have some
Honorable
honorable
mentions,
mentions.
yes.
One of them is the rollerblade problem. Why is everyone
Mhm.
rollerblading? Did cars get cancelled? Did the Great Crash destroy all footwear except inline skates? Like that was just in my
Very
mind. I
strange.
didn't know what was going on. Uh,
Hmm.
Mist. It's a
Hmm.
designer drug, but it sounds like a Yankee Candle flavor or scent.
Yeah,
Don't
it
don't need
absolutely
to.
does.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, but the winner has to be, and it really grated on me, Bullwinkle's unprovoked fury. He spends half the film
Hmm.
acting like Griffin personally ruined his life. After Griffin literally saves him, he's dragged out of a burning building, coughing and half dead, and his response is, I basically hate you now. It's the most unwarranted grudge in the movie. Either he's embarrassed he needed help, or he's the kind of guy who would get angry at someone for handing him his dropped wallet. I also think it's a little bit of he's in love with Gary Lee, and Gary Lee's affections are for
That
Griff.
is exactly what it is. And it's another one of those elements of this film which is clearly underplayed and underexplored is the fact that Bo Winkle's like, used to be his favorite, like number one guy. And now Griff showed up and it's like he's clearly like Gary Lee's clearly got holding the torch for Griff. And Bo Winkle's just not dealing with it well. And they kind of hint at it a couple of times. But if you're going to have him hate him so much, despite the fact that he saved his life, you've got to explain that a bit better. And again, speaking of random moments of violence in this film, when he gets his like head blown off, you're just like, man, that felt like it was from a
Yeah,
different film.
yeah.
When the corrupt cops just blow his head off right in front of, basically, who is it? They've got Patricia Arquette's
Griff and
character,
Patricia Arquette, yeah.
Casey.
Casey.
Is it Casey? Is that
Yeah,
Casey?
yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
Casey. Yeah.
So I just want to mention one thing about the corrupt cops. Well, I've got it in my head. We didn't mention it earlier. What exactly was their plan at the end of the movie? So
It's
all
just
of a
money.
sudden,
It's just
yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They just want money, yeah. But it gets thrown in like last minute, like oh, suddenly the cops are corrupt. They come in and they're going to take the money and they're acting all corrupt as shit. But the non-corrupt cops are literally like three steps behind them.
So
It's
they
the most
didn't
unsettled double cross of all time.
they didn't tell the non-corrupt cops, did they? He rang for Casey to tell him
Hmm.
he's got kitchen duty.
Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
answered.
Hmm.
They haven't told the other cops,
No, they haven't told the
but
other cops,
no,
but they
but
when they go into the
yeah,
drug
yeah,
den.
yeah, yeah. Because the other cop, no, what I'm saying, but they didn't tell the other cops he had kitchen duty and to be there
Oh, okay,
in.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
did it themselves, but the
Hmm.
police chief, without just warranted line, I always knew they were dirty. Followed them
Yeah.
without like that.
Oh, so yeah, they were
Yeah,
so they didn't know that the other cops were with them,
no,
despite
no.
the fact that they were clearly right fucking behind them.
They tried to rob the original Mist House.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Went
no, no, I
wrong.
got that. Yeah,
Yeah, went
yeah.
wrong. So they're doing it again to become
Hmm.
rich cops, as that
Of course, of course.
90-year-old copper said. Uh,
Hmm.
and then the real cop showed up. So they basically followed them.
It was just because
Yeah.
of the way they filmed it,
But
where the quote unquote
yeah,
real cops literally are what feels like
yeah.
2 seconds behind them. I'm just like, even if they didn't know that they were showing up, how can they not know they're behind them? I don't know. It
But
was very
it's the
silly.
same thing where Gary Lee had to have figured out pretty quick that Griff fucked them over, so when to pick up Milty.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
went to pick a Milty and brought
Oh,
Milty
yeah.
back, and that was pretty quick as well.
You
I mean,
you
uh,
really have to make kind of like leaps of assumptions with
that's
this
what I'm
film.
saying.
If that's the term.
I am filling in all of these blanks.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, you're doing a pretty good job, in
yeah.
fairness, and you're obviously more willing to do that than I was. But anyway, favorite scene for this film?
Yeah. I can go first if you want.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. The dockside gauntlet. The standout moment is Griffin's initiation run through the docks. It's that test that's half hazing ritual, half obstacle course. It's fully ridiculous. He's forced to skate at full speed through a maze of crates, puddles, and rusting metal, while the Rollerboys are just like stealing guns, acting like it's the X Games. But why I liked it, it's chaotic, it's tense, it's unintentionally funny. Griffin is trying to look cool and survive and not crash into a forklift, all while pretending this is a normal way to join a gang. I mean, the scene kind of nails the film's strange charm. Danger style and rollerblades all fighting for screen time.
Yeah, no, that is
Yeah,
the correct answer. It's where tonally, I think it's most successful. I think it actually feels like a rollerblading movie in that moment. You're getting that kind of the strange relationship between Gary Lee and Griffin. It's all there in that sequence.
yeah,
So the correct answer is indeed that. The most fun I had was maybe with the utterly bizarre party sequence, which had inexplicably had like a hole by Nine Inch Nails playing in the background. Just
yes, yes,
the one thing in this movie which is actually genuinely quite cool. But I was like, it's supposed to be this like show of decadence, and instead it just again it oddly reminded me of Lost Boys because like the kind of theme park kind of vibe to it, I
yeah.
suppose. But then, of course, it all can brought that back to earth because you have that weird sexual encounter outside between Corey Haim and Patricia Arquette, which is unpleasant like every other sequence in this film. So yeah, that whole sequence is kind of fun, but it does speak to the limited budget of the film. The correct answer is indeed the chase sequence. Oh, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, the initiation sequence.
I called it the dockside gauntlet. I don't know what else to
That's
call it.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's even better. So let's go with
yeah,
that. So you are correct there. Do you have? Oh no, Oscar season. Jesus Christ, I almost skipped
yeah,
off season. So and this is where we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies in categories of our choosing. Are you okay for me to go first?
yeah. Please feel free.
Cool. The Oscar for most ludicrous use of rollerblading goes to this movie. We've talked about it already. There was just no need for rollerblading to be in this film, other than
No.
the aforementioned Gauntlet sequence.
Yeah.
Number two, the Oscar for somehow remaining smoking hot despite a truly terrible wardrobe goes to Patricia Arquette. I mean, early 90s, she's an absolute smoke show. They do their best to make her look like an asshole, but she's still somehow like
Yeah.
if you can do that whole sequence where she's in the kimono and still look like not even like funny, like you're just like yeah, she's hot. I totally want to have sex with her. It's just one of those things. Number three, the Oscar for managing to remain quietly menacing despite rollerblades and mullet, very high trousers and suspenders goes to Christopher Collett as Gary Lee, and I didn't even mention there also a dodgy name. So yeah, as I
Yeah.
mentioned numerous times, I think he's the best thing in this movie. His look is very much of the time, but I actually think he's really good.
I was
And
gonna.
I think that's part of the reason why I just remember that aesthetic. As silly as they are, as silly as the haircut, the coat, the suspenders, all is, it is nothing if not memorable. So yeah, those are my Oscars anyway.
He's gonna be a double award winner. Good old
Oh,
Gary Lee.
and rightly so, and rightly
Yeah.
so.
Right. So, best acting by a mentor who deserves his own spin-off. Winner, Speedbagger. A grizzled, world-weary sage who trains, warns, and philosophizes. Like a man who's seen every bad future twice. He brings heart, grit, and the energy of someone who fixes your bike and your moral compass.
No, would you call the movie just Speed Bagger?
I wouldn't. No, the only thing I hate is the name. I don't know why.
I
The
would have to call
Speedbagger
it
is
Speed Bagger.
awful.
And it's just 90 minutes of boxing metaphors. That's
Yeah.
it. Just 90 minutes of boxing and just, I know, a random rollerblading scene, of course, it's connected to the universe.
The award for the best Corey Haim trying his absolute best goes to Corey Haim as Griffin. He sells the earnestness, the fear, the brotherly loyalty, and somehow makes rollerblading look heroic rather than like a PE lesson gone wrong.
Yeah, clearly this was like the testing ground for him, wasn't it? It's like he'd been like this teen star for the past like 5 years, and then all of a sudden he's getting a little bit older. We're going into the 90s. Can he be a movie star? Can he be an action star? And then they made Prey of the Rollerboys and went, probably not, sadly. But he is
Uh,
trying. We'll give him that.
and finally, the award for the best villain who looks like he's about to drop a synthwave album
Oh,
goes
great
to
shout. Great
Christopher
shout.
Collett as Gary Lee. He's charismatic, creepy, and rocking a trench coat that screams, I own at least 3 neon katanas. He's the
Mhm.
perfect fascist boy band leader.
Yeah, you can totally see him with a keytar, can you? Like that kind
Yeah,
of style thing,
yeah,
100%. Yeah, wonderfully 80s. The Razzie for the most annoying child actor goes to Devin Clark as Milty. I suspect he might also be a multiple award winner.
yeah.
Number two, the Razzie for most unpleasant on-screen relationship and kissing goes to Corey Haim and Patricia Arquette for the reasons I've already mentioned. And three, the Razzie for most bamboozling tonal shift goes to the sudden dropping of an N-bomb and the heavy lean towards white supremacy around the 75-minute mark of a 90-minute movie. I know they're white supremacists, but even I was just like, dude, you just dropped the N-bomb? Holy shit, they just beat up a black guy? This film just got legit weird. Anyway, those are my Razzies.
Right. So the Razzie for the worst youth outreach program is
Mm.
the winner, the Rollerboys. Their recruitment strategy is basically give kids drugs, make them wear white, hope no one notices the Nazi vibes,
And comic books. They also give them comic
and
books.
comic books. Yeah. Uh, and then the winner for the worst child actor pretending to be a 45-year-old man, it goes to Devin Clark as Milty.
Yeah.
Performance so world weary, you'd think he was paying a mortgage, running a small business, and going through his second divorce.
And when he's not being world weary, he feels like a middle-aged man pretending to be a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know that famous skit from is it Saturday Night Live? Hello, fellow kids, or whatever it is.
yeah. Steve
It
Buscemi. It's
yeah,
basically it's basically every kid in Stranger Things season 5 at the moment, when they're all meant to be in high school.
I'm struggling with season five.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
it's very good. I'm up to the penultimate episode, which we're watching tonight, and then I is it the last episode's coming tomorrow as of recording? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
For us, it'll be New Year's Day in the UK,
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah.
I
So I'll
think
watch
it's New
that
Year's Eve in
tomorrow.
America. Yeah,
I'm quite at the point now where I'm like, it's fine. I'm ready for it to finish.
it just
Just
needs
put it that
done
way.
now. I mean, I've always struggled with TV shows that I like. I've always struggled with the last season because when they say this is
Hmm.
the last season and they're trying to wrap things up, they
Yeah.
never do a good job for me.
Well, no,
Or
what
they do
happens
something I
is,
hate, which is they do a fucking time jump. They've written off the
hmm
last season. The
hmm
last season, they've written off the main story that they've been building
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
years, and then they go, "Okay, we got one more season. Let's do a 2 year time jump where we bring in another big bad for just this season." Why?
I
Fuck
know.
off.
Well, one of the biggest issues you often get with these shows, and Stranger Things is definitely suffering from this, is that the more popular it is and the more passionate the fan base, the more needless or dare I say endless exposition that's needed in the last series. So because they've got like enough fans who will just go over every last detail, everything has to be wrapped up.
Yeah,
Every character has to have their moments. So you have all this exposition explaining stuff from like 2, 3 seasons ago. And just like most of us who I really like Stranger Things, but I just watch it like a human being. I'm just like, I don't care if you do about a callback to season two. I just don't give a fuck. Just make this season work as a thing. But yeah, it's getting very exposition heavy. So anyway,
yeah.
this isn't the Stranger Things
No,
podcast.
my last one. Sorry, my last Razzie. Most unnecessary rollerblading. The winner, literally every scene. I mean, drug
Mhm.
deals on skates, shootouts on skates, emotional conversations on skates. This film is aggressively committed to the bit.
It's weird that we both had the same thing and I had it as an Oscar and you had a Razzie. It works in both. It works in both
Yeah,
categories for
yeah.
sure. Any alternative titles to this film? And I'll be amazed if there isn't, because Prey of the Rollerboys is, like this movie, strange. I Why is it called Prey of the Rollerboys?
I
Is it
don't
because they
know.
have crosses? Okay, it doesn't
I'm
matter. It
guessing,
doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Uh,
Dystopia. The answer is dystopia.
Argentina knew what they were doing. The White Dragons.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's leaning into the other half of this movie. It's like, do you
yeah.
lean into the rollerblading part, or do you lead into, kind of lean into the white supremacist Nazi youth part of this film?
Brazil Rollerboys, the next generation of warriors.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Italy, the Rollerboy gang.
Hmm.
Mexico, Rollerboys, gang members on wheels.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. A little on the snout, but sure.
Spain, the law of the Rollerboys.
That's not bad, actually. It's better
I
than
don't
Prayer
know.
of the Road Boys.
I don't know what Turkey we're watching. Children of Hell.
I guess maybe because the whole idea is that they've been dealt this horrible card. You don't really see it on screen, but you get it in the opening
Yeah.
monologue. This idea that their parents have just left the world in a complete mess. So these children are growing up in this dystopian future, and they're trying to make their own way. They're going about it the wrong way. Make no mistake. But yeah,
And that's it. That's
that's
all I got.
it.
Yeah.
Um, how do you feel about the title "Prayer of the Roller Boys"? I get it. Like And my initial thing was like, why didn't you just call it Rollerboys? But
Well, growing up,
Rollerboys suggests that it's a rollerblading movie, and I mean, it's 30% a rollerblading movie at best.
I always thought it was Rollerboys. I would always
Hmm.
talk because me and my brother both loved this film when we were growing up, and we'd always call it Rollerboys.
Yeah, yeah,
So Prayer of the Rollerboys came out of nowhere for me.
yeah. Very strange. Anyway, any facts for this film?
Yeah, we haven't got many.
Hmm.
Uh, Corey Haim did most of his own stunts in the film. We knew
He
that
certainly
anyway.
did. Other than the aforementioned flip and explosion, I think that was pretty much all him.
78 black shirts were used in rotation for the Rollerboys uniforms due to how sweaty they become during filming. Not 78 per Rollerboy or per
Hmm.
78 in total. So
Hmm.
you've got Gary Lee's shirt now. He's sweating that yesterday, but I've washed it. It's fine. Now
Nice,
you've
nice.
got Griff shit. Now you've got Bango shit. Like,
Well,
okay.
it is LA, I suppose.
Yeah.
Although
Corey,
it's not like we mentioned earlier, it's despite the orange glow and it's in LA and blah 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 and the physical activity, it's not a particularly sweaty movie.
no, it's not,
It isn't.
again, Predator 2 sweaty,
No, 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 certainly not.
which is how now my gauge of sweatiness on films. It's Predator 2
Well,
and then
yeah,
it's
I'm trying to
everything else.
decide. There was always Predator 2, but then, well, for this podcast, I hadn't seen the original Top Gun for years. And only when I was watching, I was like, God damn, this is a sweaty fucking movie. But I
Yeah.
think the difference with Top Gun and Predator 2 is that the sweat in Top Gun is at least slightly erotic. Everyone's
Yeah.
sweaty, but they're all really good looking. They're often topless, where nobody's particularly good looking. And you're just like, oh, yeah, that's smelly sweat in Predator
Yeah.
2. Yeah, for sure.
Uh, Corey Haim and Christopher Collett had worked previously together in the film Firstborn.
Hmm.
There you go. In the UK, this was the first film to have been
I love
released
when you've got like a shit fact. There you go. That's
There you
that.
go. Yeah, that's that. In the UK, this was the first film to have been released theatrically by First Independent, which was formerly Vestron UK. Let me say that again. This film was released theatrically in the UK.
Yep, yep, yep. Well, Corey Haim, like I said, I think this was like we're going to see if he's a movie star. And the thing is, like we mentioned earlier with Corey Haim, you go back to his filmography and you're just like, well, there aren't that many big hits. But I think we all did this. We just combined Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. So Corey Feldman was in bigger movies like The Burbs and stuff like that. And we just kind of put that under the Corey Haim, Corey
Yeah.
Feldman umbrella almost. And I think that's why we always thought of him as being maybe a bigger movie star than he actually was.
And the last fact, I've just lost it. Bear with me a second. There it
No
is.
problem.
W. Peter Iliff, who penned the screenplay for this movie, describes it as follows. Clockwork Orange meets Blade Runner via Lord of the Flies. Oddly enough, Iliff went on to create the short-lived television series Blade Squad. I don't know why that's aptly enough, so I've looked at Blade Squad and I
Hmm.
have the
Hmm.
synopsis. The Blade Squad is an experimental police chaser unit that consists of mainly cops who have screwed up and are practically off the force, who patrol the city on rollerblades and have jetpacks to give them speed. Presently, the department is trying to decide if whether or not they are worth keeping on. They are going after street punks who pull flawless robberies. And what they don't know is that the man's brother was arrested by them and tried to run away and was killed in the process. He blames and is planning to go after them. Again, this summary was written by RCS0411 at yahoo.com. This guy needs punctuation.
Yeah, it was horribly written, that's for sure. But you can see the kind of crossover with all these movies, like say, the inspiration from Blade Runner, but then the use of rollerblades and all this other nonsense. You feel like you could be half talking about Point Break, half talking about Lost Boys. All these films kind of have congealed into one, and this film is. I think its biggest sin is trying to do too much. That is fundamentally its biggest issue, and it just doesn't quite come off.
Yeah. Shannon Elizabeth was in that Blade Squad. It was a pilot for a TV series. She played Nurse. This was
Nurse.
1998. So she went from getting raped by a snowman to being Nurse
Mhm.
in Blade Squad. Bless her.
Yeah, yeah, and then she, had sex with the pie fucker in American Pie, but
Yeah,
it certainly made her famous, if nothing else. So there was that.
yeah, yeah. That's literally facts.
Fair enough. Some very interesting facts there.
Yeah,
Hope to Future is where we ask question remake sequel let it die or leave well alone. We've kind of already half covered this. Obviously, they're hinting very unsubtly at the end of this film towards a sequel in Oregon where Gary Lee gets out and goes after Griff because he's clearly in love with him. I'm like I said earlier, I'm not against the idea of seeing that. It would have to have happened in 1993. I don't need to see a remake of this, a reimagining, a legacy sequel. Basically, if there was going to be a sequel, it had to happen in like 92, 93. But yeah, obviously did not.
So I've said before, I enjoyed this film. I might have said loved this film growing up. It's still fun to watch, but to be fair, just let it die.
Yeah, yeah.
Just let it go. Just
Oh no, no, that's the
give it a
thing.
Viking funeral.
No, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. But I think we both agree that if like we wouldn't have been against the idea of watching a sequel in
Oh
92,
no, no,
93, but
God,
that
no.
ship
Like,
has
yeah,
sailed.
yeah. In
So yeah, yeah.
nineties, you got well, was I? So this was released in 1990, so I was seven. So seven,
Hmm.
8-year-old Rob, seeing one, two, or three of these, absolutely fine.
100%.
But
Yeah.
now,
In fairness,
yeah,
watching 7 or 8 of these feels very much in your wheelhouse, in fairness. Yeah,
yeah,
so we'll let this one die. Make a change. So if you could only make one change to make this a better movie, this is tricky for me because I'm like better action, pick a tone, sort out the story, world building, perhaps. I would put the emphasis, the narrative emphasis on Gary Lee and Griffin, and I would keep it there. I'd make everything else superfluous. Much in the way, you have all this wider story, the obvious examples again, Lost Boys, Point Break,
yeah,
but fundamentally the story revolves around that relationship, and that's what I think I'd do in this film.
yeah. For me, it would be making the dystopian future actually dystopian. I mean, right now you've got a society is supposedly collapsed, but we still have pizza delivery, lawyers, fully functioning police force. It's not a nightmare future. It's just a Tuesday. I mean, if you strip away the conveniences, show us the infrastructure that's crumbling, any services that barely exist, a city held together with duct tape and desperation, it makes the survival feel precarious, not mildly inconvenient. You just need to push it into that true dystopia. And maybe then you kind of believe that, I guess, rollerblades survived. But at the moment, I mean, Gary Lee, he's loving rollerblades. I had to fucking laugh as well when they arrested him and they were pushing him on his blades to the police car.
Yeah, yeah, and he's still trying to look like a
Yeah,
badass.
yeah, but he's got a fucking great car, that lovely little fucking convertible. But I'll get out to rollerblade. No, it doesn't feel right. No, no, no.
Is
Just
he
make it dystopian.
driving it with his rollerblades
Yes.
on? Yeah. Oh, very strange. There's a reason, like you mentioned earlier with that show where like the cops are on rollerblades, and part of you thinks, well, you have cops on bikes. Why couldn't it be on rollerblades? Because at some point you need. It's like Ed 209. Like nobody thought Ed 209, and suddenly thought, fuck, stairs are going to be an issue, aren't they? It's
Yeah.
kind of like that with rollerblades. Rollerblades are cool, and then as soon as you get to stage, like fuck, this is going to be an ordeal and I'm going to
But
fall over. You basically, that's where you have quads because they had the stoppers on them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you would look like a dick, but you could make stairs work by, kind of pushing your toes up onto the stoppers.
Those cops in that TV movie thing, though, they had jetpacks as well.
It's just an accident waiting to happen as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a Prayer of the Rollerboys video game. In terms of making one, the very easy answer for me, because it's one of my favorite video games of all time. Jet Set Radio, it was on the Dreamcast. I absolutely adore that game. You can even say Jet Set Radio Future, which was an exclusive for the OG Xbox. Basically, I would keep all the tagging and just have more white supremacy. Basically, I would argue that by having white supremacy, you're ruining the tone of Jet Set Radio, which is a very upbeat video game. But basically, I just want more Jet Set Radio. They're actually supposed to be making one. The Sega did this big release a couple of years ago. They're like, oh, we're making a new Shinobi, we're making a new Virtua Fighter, we're making a new Jet Set Radio. The only one we've had so far is the new Shinobi, which by all
Yeah.
accounts is absolutely fantastic. So I am holding out hope that Jet Set Radio will live up to its legacy because the Dreamcast version, which I still think you can download via Xbox and PlayStation Network, is still really good.
Okay.
It's a game of its time, but it's wonderful. The one that's stuck on the OG Xbox is Jet Set Radio Future, which is a better game. And absolutely screaming for a remake. So really, I just want a remake of that. But if I have to sell for a Prayer of the Rollerboys version made by Sega, sure, we'll go for that instead.
Right. So I've won again, unfortunately. I do
You're
apologize,
going to beat
but
Jet Set Radio. Come on,
yeah.
dude. Come on.
If Predator Rollerboys had a video game soulmate, it's Jet Set Radio.
Oh, there we
not,
go. There we go.
not because of the plot, but because of the attitude. I
Mhm.
mean, in both stories, the police aren't just law enforcement, they're a looming force. They're trying and failing to control a generation that's already slipped through the cracks. It's got the movement as identity. The way the characters skate isn't just transport, it's personality, status, and
Mhm.
defiance. Uh, yeah, like you said, replace the graffiti with
We can
Nazism,
keep
and
you
I
can
think
just keep the graffiti. They should be kind of just doing swastikas instead
yeah,
of like cool art, I suppose. Because
yeah,
like at the end of the film, it's part of the movie. Like he's in his prison, his quote unquote prison cell. He's tagging the actual cell,
yeah,
so it's part of the culture. Yeah, it just needs to be a little bit more racist. But everything else is true, like you said, with the cops. Like they're fighting against the cops. The only problem is it's hard to get you can get behind the kids in Jet Set Radio, the cool like outsiders. In this, you're just like, they are racist, aren't they? It's going to
yeah,
be tricky.
yeah.
Never mind. But yeah, we both come to the same conclusion. It has to be Jet Set Radio. That leads us to IMDb section, so where we pick out a random selection of 10-star and 1-star reviews. Or sorry, one random 10-star and 1-star reviews. As to how many reviews there are, written reviews on IMDb for this movie, there can't be that many. I've been surprised in the past. I'm going to go with 92.
Oh, fucking hell. 92.
Shut up.
No, 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 I'm joking.
Oh, fuck's
It's,
sake.
I couldn't believe you went that high. It's 41.
Oh, I honestly, I was going to go lower, but every time I've gone low, I've been like, I'm like, oh, dude, no one's going to review this. It's like 67. You're like, oh, it's like
I
482.
mean,
What the
I love
fuck?
you, but you're not good at this guessing game, are you?
I'm better at the 10-star and 1-star bit, but
Yeah.
not reading the room in terms of how many people are writing reviews at all. Terrible at it.
So, come on in, 10 star.
And how many were there? 40.
41.
Oh, there can't be that many. 7?
Oh, dude, 9.
See, I'm okay at this bit
Yeah,
usually.
yeah, you're getting good, yeah. Right, so title, Day of the Rope is Coming. This was written in February 2011.
Nice.
Total Cinemax classic. The two Corys were always on premium channels late at night, and this flick, although only containing one Cory, is amazing. In the near future, America has collapsed. There are shortages of everything, and most people are hunting around for recyclables in order to stay afloat. There's a gang of rollerblading thugs on the streets making and selling a drug known as mist and collecting like the mafia at any and all local retailers. Corey is a rollerblader and he probably did some of his own stunts in this movie, seeing as he was also an avid hockey player. Oh, Canada! Due to his rad skills and tubular look. He's advanced by the gang after dim-wittingly saving one, Bullwinkle, not the moose, from a mist house gone up in flames. He's reluctant to accept, but he's old friends with gang leader Gary Lee. And the undercover pig unit wants to bring down the Rollerboys. So Hamer has got no choice but ante up. It's a story of drugs and gangs in the future that rollerblade everywhere and cause general havoc. But what's really in the drug, mist, things get personal when Corey's little brother gets involved. Patricia Arquette heats things up, and the blading is awesome. This movie came out at the start of the whole inline revolution and remains one of the strongest rollerblading movies that deals with post-apocalyptic stress. But hey, as long as we can still skate, I don't care what color the sky is. 10 stars, RIP, or RIP Corey Haim. Uh,
Mhm.
all I gotta do, I don't usually call him out, but this was written by Peter Pan 66. If
Mhm.
nothing else, thank you for great grammar.
Not bad grammar. I mean, he has fundamentally just kind of written a synopsis, a detailed synopsis for this
Yeah,
film. And, he does the way he's written basically the review, the synopsis, whatever you want to call it, is how I remember it. Like, there's no mention in there about how, like tubular, extreme, early 90s, like inline skating doesn't really mention anything about the racism
yeah.
and the white supremacy. It's just like, it just doesn't quite fit with this film, but it's in there, dude.
One
One
stars.
star. There
Yeah,
should be more. I don't think there will be though. 6?
two.
Two. See, I suspect a lot of people are going to like this, but they'll have just enough sense to fall short of 10. But yeah, it's one of those films. Like if somebody wanted to give this a 1-star review, I would get it. But I don't feel people. How many people feel passionately enough about Prayer of the Rollerboys? Oh, I'm going to give this fucking 1-star review like online.
Yeah.
I guess there were plenty of psychos out there, or 2 in this case.
So written in August 1998.
No, throwback.
Yeah, titled redefines the word awful, but he's put awful in quotes.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, no. Holy cow, extremely terrible script, horrifyingly inept direction, fairly bad acting, throw in a prop budget of $4, continuity mistakes, and a soundtrack that makes you want to kill yourself, and you've
Oof.
got one of the worst movies of all time. If you see only 14,000 movies this year, make sure this isn't one of them.
Fair enough, fair enough. I feel like that's probably a bit more accurate than the 10-star review. I don't agree with all of it, but if,
Yeah.
like I said, if someone's like, dude, this is one of the worst films I've ever seen, I hate it, I'm like, I'm not going to try and talk you down from the hill. Which leads us to our own scores and recommendations. I haven't given this a 1-star review. I've given it a 2. I would say no as a recommendation. I'm not going to tell anyone to go out and watch fucking Prayer of the Rollerboys. I'm not even sure I'm convinced I'm going to tell anyone. Like my brother, for instance, he grew up watching this as I did. Do I want him to go back and rewatch it? I'm like, if you have fond memories of it, probably leave it in the past. But if nothing else, it would be a good midnight screening, this kind of
Yeah.
film. If you
Yeah.
went to, if there was like a midnight showing of Prayer of the Rollerboys and you go with like-minded people, I think there would be a lot of fun to be had. But it's not a great movie. So it's a 2 and a no from me.
It's pretty much spot on. It's a 2. I wanted to go 1.5, but I thought I can't be that mean. I'll give it 2. So it's a 2.
Mhm.
And yeah, leave it in the past. Leave it in your memories if you enjoyed this film. I probably couldn't recommend this now as a 42-year-old man. I just couldn't do it.
No, no. If you have listened to this and you haven't rewatched it and you are intrigued despite what we've just said, the reason we're covering this and we're able to watch it is because the whole movie is available on YouTube for free. So it's not the best. But I think it was taken from like a VHS like 11 years ago or some shit. But yeah, you can watch it there if you're interested. All right, so that's been 1990s Prayer of the Rollerboys. Next week is your choice, sir. What are you going for?
I had a panic because I
Hmm.
realized it was my choice right up until the beginning of recording.
Oh, nice.
Because Prayer of the Roller Boys sounds like my choice.
100% it does. Honestly, I forgot to write an intro. I was like, well, this was clearly Rob's choice. Like, dude, no, I
Yeah.
picked this one. This feels like a Rob movie.
I mean, it really freaked me out. It was like, no, wait, fuck me, Liam chose this.
Yeah,
Shit,
yeah.
no,
I'm as surprised as anyone, I can assure you.
yeah. So we're not going too far away. So the year is
1991. God, was released in 1991. Terminator 2. Well, we've already covered that.
yeah.
You're gonna need a bit more on that.
The director is Craig R. Baxley.
Oh, I have no idea what that is. Gonna need more on that.
Well, he is a gentleman who is known for the stunts in Predator, but he
Okay.
directed Action Jackson and Dark Angel.
I mean, not bad, not bad.
Yeah,
Action Jackson,
yeah.
I've not seen for a long time, but I remember that being a pretty good movie with Carl Weathers.
Okay, so
And we
one
did
of
Dark Angel on this podcast, right?
we did Dark Angel on this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
podcast. That was definitely one of my choices.
That was definitely
Yeah.
one of your choices. Quite fun. Not good, but fun.
Uh, so one of the co-stars is Lance Henriksen.
1991. Is it a sci-fi film?
No,
Hmm. 1991. Lance Henriksen. I feel like I should know this. I would have seen
I'm
this film, yeah.
no, I don't think you have.
Oh, okay, well, in that case, lay it on me then.
I'm sticking with the theme of
Mhm.
undercover, right?
Okay.
I'm also sticking with the theme of you can find it on YouTube.
Okay. Okay.
I'm also sticking with the theme of I've really wanted to cover this for a long time.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. It feels like we're maybe also sticking with the theme of it probably won't be very good, but let's go with
um,
it.
the main star is Brian Bosworth.
Yeah, I'm just gonna need the title, and I'm not. I'm certainly at the point where you're gonna say the
You're gonna go for
title.
the
And I'm
title.
gonna be like, what the fuck is he talking about?
I've mentioned it lots of times before.
Okay.
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold. Yes. Sorry. Yeah, I know what you mean with the
Yeah,
star. Yeah, you've not mentioned it for a while. In fairness, this felt like it was
no.
one of those. And I mean, if you're talking about an early 90s film, like this film really feels early 90s. Stone Cold, you only have to look as far as Bosworth to know that this is aggressively early 90s. It has a look about it, to say the least.
I mean, this here is fantastic.
It is, and this film, I mean, it's got a half decent IMDb score,
Yeah,
6.1, Rotten
6.1, yeah.
Tomatoes, 30%, which isn't particularly high. It's got one amazing poster, which is a complete rip-off of Terminator, despite the fact that it's probably got absolutely nothing to
Yeah,
do with it. But yes, William Forsythe's in it as well, so it's not, some
no.
decent stars in this. Sam
Wi-
McMurray, good actor again.
William Forsythe plays Ice. Lance Henriksen plays Chains.
Oh my
Brian
God.
Bosworth plays the cop Joe Huff. And what was his Joe Huff, but also John Stone.
But
So his
also
undercover
John
name.
Stone.
His
Yeah, well,
undercover name.
this is one of those films where I'm not expecting it to be a masterpiece. I think that's fair to say.
Oh yeah,
But
but
it
I
might
honestly
well
think
be
you will
fun.
have fun. I
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
think you will have fun. Uh, Also, if I
The
remember
reviews are
rightly,
mixed because I was like the reviews for this film, Prayer for Rollerboys, like it's actually the opposite way around. It's 5.6 on IMDb. The Rotten Tomato score for this film is 64%. It's
yeah,
like high,
yeah.
well, high for the film that we just watched. Put it that way.
So I'm going to break into a little bit of trivia because you said the poster reminds you of
Terminator.
Terminator 2. The role of Joe Huff was
No,
originally
Terminator
offered.
1 specifically, sorry.
The role of Joe Huff was originally offered to Arnold Schwarzenegger, but the
Mhm.
studio couldn't afford to pay him $20 million.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, well,
Uh,
that suggests though, if they were gonna, and again, this is speaking from someone who's not seen the movie, but if they were thinking about offering it to Schwarzenegger but didn't have the money, at least at some point they must have thought that the material was at least half
yeah.
decent. This isn't like some straight to like video kind of crap where they just thrown it together last minute. At some point, they were looking at it just like, all right, this might be a decent movie if we can get the right actor, right director. Obviously, they couldn't get Schwarzenegger, so they've gone, dare I say, a few rungs down the ladder to get to their man.
I mean, let's be fair, but I had fun with this film. I remember having fun with this film. I'm looking forward to revisiting it. If nothing,
When
right?
you say, so I have to ask, because we've had this a few times, like when you say I had fun with this movie, it's like when we did Jack Frost and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, it's very much the proviso. Like you remember having fun with this movie, but you watched it when you were like 13 and you haven't seen it since.
Oh
Have you
no,
seen
so
the movie quite recently or?
no, not recently. The last time I watched it, I didn't have a child, so
Okay. But you were an
uh,
adult, like a full on
but I was
adult
an
kind of.
adult. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah.
an adult.
Because
Uh,
I feel like there's two big differences there. Because there are films, like the classic one for both of us was always Robot Jox. Like we watched it loads when we were kids, but then neither of us had seen it since we were like 14. And you're like,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
this going to be like? Whereas the other films, like I may not have watched for 20 years, but I watched in my early 20s, and I'm like, well, if I liked it then, it's probably a safe bet. But God knows.
If nothing else, and before you, I don't usually recommend this, but
Mhm.
please watch the uh, trailer on IMDb specifically
Okay,
because
okay.
it's filmed like one of those date videos. Do you know those single guy videos
Oh
they
yeah,
used to
yeah,
have
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
80s? Yeah, it's filmed like that,
That actually
which
sounds
is
pretty
odd as
fun.
fuck. Yeah,
I mean,
so
we'll
watch
have,
that
we'll
trailer.
make sure we'll share that on socials and stuff like that for those who have
Yeah,
an interest in it. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this film, but I am genuinely looking forward to it. I'm glad we're finally covering it.
I
And
think you're
like you
gonna
said, it is available. Like the whole film's on YouTube. Yeah,
on YouTube. Yeah,
awesome,
I
awesome.
do think you're gonna be more warm to it than
Well, you've picked it.
Rollerboys.
Listen, other than I've got to give you, credit where it's due. Other than the two Christmas movies you picked, which were both ass, and there was maybe one or two others which I wasn't too sure of. Most of the ones you've picked, which I'd never seen before, I've liked. I would say like 80 to 90% of them. So
Yeah,
I am looking forward to this, and we have been meaning to it for a long time. But the reason we put a lot of these off is for that exact reason. They're just not available. Like,
yeah,
they're murdered to get hold. That was why we waited so long to do Prayer of the Roller Boys. Whatever you might think of the movie, it was a part of our use and we wanted to do it, but it just wasn't available. So yeah, YouTube is often a bit of a source for these kind of movies because most films get kicked off, but if there's like no other way to watch it, they do often just get left on there now, like the
yeah,
full movies. Like there were
yeah.
no adverts or anything. But anyway, so yeah, that has been 1990s Prayer of the Roller Boys. Do join us next week for 1991's. Is that correct?
1991 Stone Cold. Yeah,
Stone Cold. So yeah, you really have to type in Stone Cold movie. This movie is not famous enough to be called Stone Cold. You're
Stone
not going to
Cold. No.
get Stone Cold the movie if you just type in Stone Cold, dude. It's not happening. Anyway, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. See you next week.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s at gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you guys!